guys, what's up? It's Zoe. I'm about to relive an experience that made me just about have a heart attack and die. It was amazing. It's like the best heart attack you could ever have. The story I'm about to tell you is the story of how Dan and Phil touched our bananas. This story starts long ago, about last week. Me and my friend and my mom had gotten tickets to TATINOF, The Amazing Tour Is Not on Fire. And as you are, I was very excited the day that June 8th came, because that was the day that TATINOF was. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to see Dan and Phil. We're seeing Dan and Phil today. Like, these people that are like in the internet are coming out of the internet and they're going to be on stage in front of us. I just like couldn't comprehend that. I was like, oh my gosh. I had a lot of freakouts that day. I was just like, oh my gosh, we're going to see Dan and Phil. And so it took a long time to get ready and to wait for my friend because she had to come over so that we could leave together. Oh my gosh, it was like agony. I was like, oh my gosh, 2 hours till we see Dan and Phil. And so when she finally came over, we just hung around in the kitchen. And then she reminded me that there's this thing at TATINOF called the Crafty Corner. And if you don't know what that is, the Crafty Corner is where you drop off things that you've made that relate to Dan and Phil. So it could be like a piece of art, it could be a creation, a square flake, anything like that. And you can drop it off at a table at TATINOF, and there's a chance that that might be used in the show. While me and my friend Emma, we were just waiting till it was time for us to leave, and we were walking around the house, and then my friend Emma, she looks at these bananas, and then she turns to me and goes, let's draw Dan and Phil as bananas. And so I'm like, oh yes, let's do this. So we take the bananas off and we start drawing the bananas. This is what they look like, by the way. So we start drawing them, and then we're like, okay, now we need to give them names. The name we gave Dan was Dan the Banan, and the name we gave for Phil is Phil the Potassium, like feel, but it's Phil. We're so funny. So after we finished making our masterpiece, we get a rubber band and we tie them together so that they'll stay together and not get split up. We get in the car and we're on our way there, and me and Emma are just freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh, we're less than like half an hour away from seeing Dan and Phil. So when we finally got there, we went and we put our creation, our bananas, at the table, and we thought, oh, this was a cool idea, but it's probably not going to be used in the show because there's a lot of other things there. So we went into the auditorium and we went and watched the show with the expectation of not being able to see our bananas. We watched the show and I cried like 4 times during that show. It was amazing. And then the Crafty Corner segment comes around, and me and Emma are on the edge of our seats because we thought, we're like, oh, we're definitely not going to be able to like see our bananas because there's a lot of other things there. But we're still like excited. We're like, oh, but what if it is in there? It's probably not, but what if it is? And so we're just kind of on the edge of our seats looking, and we're just looking and waiting for them to pull out the next thing. So what it is that Dan has his shopping cart thing that's filled with like 4 creations, and Phil has his. And so they alternate showing one thing from each basket. So it goes Phil, then Dan, Phil, then Dan. Dan and Phil, they go back and forth until it's Dan's last thing in his cart. Phil has run out of everything, and so Dan's the last thing. There's like one thing after that, but you can tell it's scripted into the show. So this is like the last viewer created thing. So he goes in, he looks into the basket, and then he just kind of stops. But he looks, he puts his hand in the basket, and then he says, and lastly, we have these 2 bananas? And then everyone just kind of starts laughing. And then Dan's like, this is disgusting. Look, they're peeling. And by this time, the bananas have been all bruised, like started to peel, and they start to like, when the bananas got to Dan and Phil, they were all like really ugly, and you couldn't really tell what they were. But they could tell it was them because they had the fringes and all that. And so Dan's just like, this is disgusting. This is peeling. And then he goes, apparently this is what I would look like with 18-pack abs. And then everyone starts laughing. And then Phil goes, should we eat them? And then Dan he's just like, no, we shouldn't. We'll probably get like poisoned if we do this. And then Phil agrees. And then he puts the bananas up, and then they go to the last thing, which is obviously scripted into the show. But meanwhile, while they're having that conversation and everyone's just kind of laughing and giggling, me and Emma are in the back row, just like screaming. We're like, oh my god, those are our bananas. And we're just like, you're freaking out. I'm like crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're touching our bananas. They're touching our freaking bananas. And I was just like crying, and Emma's just like screaming, and I'm like waving my hands in the air, and I'm just like, that's us, that's us. And so before the show starts, they take pictures of everything that they're gonna show, I guess, and then they'll put the name of the person who made the thing on a picture that's showed in the show for everyone to see. So it's not just like the bananas, it's like a huge picture of the bananas. And so they just put Emma's name on there, and I'm just like slightly offended. I'm like, I put my name on those bananas as well. Why is my name not on there? And I was like so tempted to yell, I'm here too. I made that banana. I made Phil. It's okay. He saw the bananas, and that's all that matters. They freaking touched the bananas, guys. They touched the bananas. I'm still like trying to recover from that. More than a week later, it was just, oh my god. And after that, we enjoyed the rest of the show. It was amazing. TATINOF is amazing. I thought some of it was going to be scripted, and then some was going to be just like a Q&A style like show, like where they would just sit down and they'd ask questions from the audience. The whole thing's scripted, but it leaves areas open for the audience to choose what happens. And there's a bunch of things like the Why I Was a Weird Kid stories, the 7-second challenges, the crafty corner, obviously. I was like, those are our bananas. They've got beautiful voices, like singing voices. And so I was really impressed with that. I was like, wow, this entire thing is planned, it's scripted, it's been practiced, it's performed very well. And it was just, I was so proud. I was like, those are my children on stage. They noticed us. They got our bananas. They touched the bananas. Well, that's it for this story. We vlogged that day, and you can go see it. It's on my other channel. Well, not really my other channel. It's more like my collaborative channel that I do with a couple other girls. It's called Bacon Biscuits. You should go check it out. I'll put a link to it right here, and there'll be a link in the description as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And as always, I'll have all the links to my social medias in the description below. That's it for this week's video. Bye!